to spend, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 on a gaming PC, show them this build. This is an awesome build. I actually think this is one of my best builds I've done so far. I got a lot of nice parts in it, and enough of me ass-kissing myself. Let's just get right into this build. For the CPU, I went with the Intel Core i5-45 93.3 GHz quad-core processor. $180 for this CPU. It's a quad-core Intel CPU, which I really wanted to get because a lot of games these days really take advantage of the quad-core architecture of the i5, and it's 3.3 GHz. Unfortunately, it's not a K-series processor, so you can't overclock it, but in this case, a 3.3 GHz processor is still fairly good, and you'll still be able to run all the games no problem, and for $180, you really can't go wrong with this CPU. I really wanted to get a quad-core Intel CPU in here over, say, a 6-core AMD or even an 8-core AMD. Really wanted to get that gaming performance from the CPU, since this is primarily a gaming build. For the motherboard, I went with the ASRock H97 Anniversary ATX LG1150 motherboard for $70. This is a great motherboard for a really cheap price. It's an H97 board, meaning you can't overclock on it, but since we got a Core i5-4590 and not, say, a 4690K, you can't overclock anyway, so getting an H97 board, saving some money, made a lot of sense. Has 4 RAM slots up to DDR3 1600MHz and supports up to 32GB of RAM. No Crossfire or SLI support either. I don't think at a $600 budget a lot of you guys want to do that anyway, since that costs a lot of money, so I just thought an H97 board for $70 from ASRock, which is a very underrated motherboard manufacturer, just a great deal all around. For memory, G.Skill Ripjaws X Series 8GB, 24GB sticks running at 1600MHz for only $50. RAM price has actually been going down recently, and now it's back down to $50. For a while, it was around this cheap. Actually, back in around 2012, you could get 8GB of RAM for around $40. Then they shot up in price out of nowhere, and now they're coming back down. Now they're down to $50, which is a great price for 8GB of RAM. But like I said, the motherboard has 4 RAM slots, so say 16, 24 months down the line, you can pick up another kit of this RAM, and then you'll have 16GB of RAM. But for now, 8GB of RAM makes a lot of sense, and for $50, you really can't go wrong. For the hard drive, I went the Western Digital Caviar Blue 1TB 7200 RPM internal hard drive for around $52. Just a 1TB hard drive, not much more to say. Couldn't fit an SSD in this build, of course, but that's an upgrade you guys can make later on down the line. And say in a year down the line, SSD prices are just going to come cheaper and cheaper, because year over year, SSD prices just keep going lower and lower. So in a year, you could probably get a 120GB SSD for around $40, as crazy as that sounds. But for now, this Caviar Blue 1TB is a solid hard drive, and it's got a decent amount of space. 1TB should be enough for most of you guys, but like I've been saying in prior videos, game file sizes are increasing. Games like Call of Duties are now like 60GB. Titanfall was 60GB. The Battlefield games, they have a lot of DLC as well. So, if you guys want, maybe pick up a 2TB if you guys have the cash. If not, 1TB should be fine for most of you guys. For the video card, I went with the XFX Radeon R9 283GB Black Edition Double Dissipation video card. $170 for this GPU, and this can pretty much play any game at 1080p at not max out settings on every game. Like Witcher 3, Metro Last Light, you'll have to lower the settings a tad, but most games you'll be getting really good settings out of them and really solid frame rates as well. This 280 from XFX also has a really nice cooler, so if you want to overclock and get even more performance out of it, that option is open as well. And just a great GPU for a very palatable price of $170 and can do great gaming at 1080p. For the power supply, I went with the EVGA 500W 80+ certified power supply, $37, very cheap power supply. The build's only going to use around 380 watts at max, so a 500W power supply for this cheap made a lot of sense. Obviously, we're not going for a Crossfire configuration since the motherboard can't even support it, so no reason to go for a 700, 800W power supply. A 500W power supply for this cheap of a price will do just fine. Finally, for the case, I want the Corsair $200 ATX mid-tower case. Solid case from Corsair. I've used a lot of cases from Corsair, for my PCs, and this one is a great one as well. This is a solid case from Corsair for $58. It has a lot of room in it. It's a mid-tower case. Looks kind of basic on the exterior, but hey, the interior gets the job done. Easy wire management, things like that. Very cheap price, and solid case from Corsair. They make a lot of good cases. I've used a lot of Corsair cases on my PCs as well, and this one is definitely a great one. So thanks for watching this video, guys. Remember to hit that subscribe button, like this video if you